In today's video, I'm going to be breaking down the fastest killing assault rifle here in Call of Duty Black Ops 7 multiplayer, graphically showing you guys utilizing in-game statistics what the fastest killing assault rifle is at all ranges, and go over which rifle is going to dominate at close, medium, and long ranges, and explain how attachments like longer barrels or even landing a single headshot can completely change the fight. On top of that, I will be studying the exact recoil pattern of every weapon and debunking a bigger myth and proving to you guys why bullet velocity is completely irrelevant here in multiplayer. And with that, let's go ahead and hop right into the video. So like I was saying in the intro, this isn't going to be a hype video or a best gun clickbait. We're going to be using real data and real statistics to show how these rifles perform at different ranges so you can pick the gun that best fits your playstyle. We're going to be looking at 3 different scenarios. The first is going to be the base stat, so that's going to be the raw performance of every assault rifle. Next, we're going to look at the damage range barrels, which are going to be extending your effective damage range by about 15% so your faster kill zones last a little longer. And then finally, we're going to be looking at a scenario where you land at least one headshot, because that is going to be realistic in most fights, and landing one headshot can drastically reduce time to kill, as you'll see later in the video. So the goal of this video isn't to tell you what's the best, it's to give you the numbers so you can decide what's best for your playstyle and the map you're playing. So this first graph is going to be the base gun by itself. It's going to have no attachments on it, and it's going to be assuming no headshots, so these are going to be all body shots across the board. All of these graphs are going to read the exact same, where the left-hand side is going to be the TTK, or time to kill in milliseconds. That's going to be the y-axis. And then on the x-axis, that's going to be the distance in meters, and that's just going to be how far away your enemy is. And then the lines are going to represent the different weapons. So here in this first graph, you can see that the Maverick is going to be the fastest killing assault rifle up to 20 meters. That is going to be the purple line there at the bottom. I'll put the recoil pattern on the right hand side of the screen as well, so you can see how the recoil pattern is with the Maverick. This gun's going to have virtually no recoil, which is going to make it very dominant at those early ranges. And you can see the MXR is actually going to be the weakest performing assault rifle at some of those shorter ranges, which does make sense because it's going to have a little bit better handling, and it's also going to have a little bit of a slower fire rate, more in tune for those longer ranges a little bit. But you can see as the chart kind of breaks out a little bit further, all these guns are going to get mixed in the 20 to 50-ish meter range, where every now and then like the M15 is going to take over, or you can see there's a time and place where the AK-27 is going to be taking over as well. But the main thing you guys are going to want to look at here is anything in the early ranges. That's going to tell you the assault rifle you're going to want to be using on some of these smaller maps. And then if you're going to be a more campy or kind of holding angles type assault rifle player, you're going to want to use the assault rifle that's going to be better at some of them longer ranges. And before I explain any further, one thing I did want to mention with these graphs is that anything beyond 60 meters is really an unrealistic gunfight here in this multiplayer due to the map design. 90 meters is one of the furthest distances I could find on the exposure map, which I'll show you guys on screen here. The 90 meters is just unrealistic, and you're never going to be in engagements that far. The more realistic range of like the longest range you should be fighting on an average map is going to be around the 50 to 60 meter range. So anything above 60 meters really is unrealistic, and you can probably cut that portion of the graph out. But I just wanted to show you guys what the data looks like on every gun for the longest distance I could find on these maps. But keep in mind whenever we're looking at these charts that anything above 60 meters is going to be less than probably 5% of the gunfights you get in. And then I also put this bar chart together to easily understand what the best assault rifle is at all ranges. So this is still going to be the base stat. So this is going to be no attachments, no headshots. You can clearly see that up to 20 meters, the Maverick is going to be the best gun. And then there's going to be a very small range, 21 to 22 meters, where the Peacekeeper takes over. And then 22 to about 37 meters, you're going to see the M15 take over. The Peacekeeper is then going to sneak back in for a little bit, and then the AK-27 is going to dominate from 40 to 50 meters, and then anything above 50 meters is surprisingly dominated by the DP-20 because it is going to have a 5-shot kill range to infinity basically. But like I was saying, anything above 60 meters really is unrealistic, but this graph is going to show you the fastest time to kill assault rifle at all the different ranges for the base weapon. And then moving on to part 2 of the video, we are going to be looking at what the time to kill looks like whenever you do apply a damage barrel to your weapon, where you're going to get about a 15% damage range boost across the board. And at this point in the video, I do want to go ahead and mention to you guys that bullet velocity and multiplayer for assault rifles is completely irrelevant. The main reason for that is just going to be due to how the map design is. Like I was saying earlier, most of your engagements are going to occur within the 60-meter range, and at that point there just isn't a significant of enough difference for bullet velocity to really matter. At that point, every weapon is still essentially hit scan, so whenever you're building these weapons out, you can completely ignore bullet velocity and only focus on the damage range. But this graph's going to be the exact same, except you're just going to see all of the original guns. They're just going to dominate for a little bit longer. So the Maverick's going to be good to about 24 meters now, the M15 to about 45 meters now, and then anything beyond that's going to be split between the AK and then the DP20. And this is going to be the bar chart whenever you do go ahead and apply the damage range boost. Again, this is really just going to be a more clear picture showing you exactly what gun is going to dominate at specific ranges. So on those smaller range maps like the Blackheart, you're going to be wanting to utilize the Maverick. The medium ranges like the Cortex, you're probably going to want to use the M15. And then the bigger maps like Exposure, you're going to be wanting to use the AK-27. And before we move into the last part of the video, which is going to be how the time to kill changes with every assault rifle, assuming you hit at least one headshot, I wanted to go ahead and take some time to explain the recoil pattern of all the different assault rifles, because that's going to be critical when you assume you can hit at least one headshot. You'll see for most of the assault rifles like the M15, the MXR, the DP20, and the Peacekeeper, they're going to have 90% vertical recoil, where the Maverick is going to have little to no recoil, and the AK-27 is going to have some vertical that moves into horizontal. This is going to be critical to understand when you're building out your setups. Reason for that is going to be for the M15, MXR, DP20, and Peacekeeper, you're really not going to want to waste your time on any of the horizontal recoil control. Instead, you're going to want to build it around primarily vertical, because that's what all the recoil is going to be. And then for the Maverick and the AK-27, just due to their little to no recoil, you may not want to waste any attachments on recoil control because it is very easy to control. One thing I did want to go ahead and mention before the headshot portion though, is vertical recoil can actually work in your favor whenever you are assuming you are going to be getting a headshot. The reason for that's going to be whenever you shoot somebody in the chest, that's going to be the biggest target you're always aiming at. The gun is naturally going to kick up, which is going to allow you to get easier headshots. So keep that in mind whenever we go over the time to kill with the different assault rifles, assuming you get at least one headshot. So this is what the time to kill looks like for every assault rifle, assuming you're hitting at least one headshot. You can see this drastically changes how quickly you are killing the enemy, and that is going to be primarily due to the headshot multiplier. So if you're wanting to consistently win gunfights, hitting headshots is going to be critical, but you definitely don't want to sacrifice accuracy and just go for the head and miss shots, because if you miss shots altogether, your enemy's probably going to be consistently hitting more over time, which is going to make you lose the gunfight. One thing I did want you guys to take away from this graph is just look at how much the Maverick falls off in comparison to the other graphs. The main reason for that is because the Maverick is going to have a lower headshot multiplier in comparison to all of the other assault rifles. So up to 20 meters, if all the other assault rifles hit at least one headshot, you are going to outgun the Maverick 100% of the time. So you can see if you're assuming one headshot, the AK-27 is going to be the dominant assault rifle up to 20 meters. The M15 is going to be the dominant assault rifle from 20 to 40 meters, and then 40 to 60 meters is going to be the MXR, and then as stated earlier, anything really above the 60 meter range is unrealistic, but technically the DP20 is going to be your best option. But just keep in mind, you never want to sacrifice accuracy for going for headshots, because hitting shots consistently is going to be the most important thing for winning gunfights. And this is what the bar chart's going to look like, assuming you're hitting at least one headshot. The AK-27 is going to be dominant up to the 20 meter range, so that's going to be your smaller maps like your Nuketowns or the Blackhearts. From the 20 to 40 meter range, that's going to be the more versatile weapon, being the M15. That's going to be medium range like Cortex. 40 to 55 meters, the MXR is going to dominate. That's going to be your Exposures, your Imprints, and then anything beyond 55 meters is going to be dominated by the DP20. And there you guys have it. That's going to be all the statistics for the Black Ops 7 assault rifles under a few different scenarios. Again, this video isn't intended to tell you what the best overall assault rifle is or what a best class setup is, because I feel like those videos are a little corny just because everybody's playstyle is going to be slightly different. I'm always naturally going to be a more fast-paced assault rifle player. That's just how I enjoy playing the game. So a class setup that works for me may not necessarily work for people who like to play a little bit slower pace of a game. So hopefully you can utilize this information to your advantage, understand what weapons are going to be best up close, at medium ranges, and long ranges, and then also have a slightly better understanding of what attachments to use on certain weapons. For example, the M15 doesn't need horizontal recoil control, it needs vertical recoil control. And then also understanding the difference between bullet velocity and damage range, and how bullet velocity is kind of irrelevant in multiplayer due to the map design. And then finally understanding how a headshot can make a big difference between determining if you win or lose a gunfight. But yeah, guys, that is going to do it for the video. If you did find this video useful or entertaining, please let me know by dropping a like, leaving a comment down below, or any suggestions you have for a future video, and then hit that subscribe button. And with that, I'll catch you guys all in the next one.